Hi, I'm Tim Topham and this is my student over here, Will Woods. And in this video, we're going to show you how to get started teaching a chordal approach to piano that will work perfectly alongside your current teaching, whether that's in individual students or in groups. This lesson is part one of a 10-part series that I've put together all about what I call 4-chord composing. So it's all about how to use chords to really motivate, engage and inspire students in a compositional kind of framework. It works for students of all ages and abilities and is available to all members of my Inner Circle community. And the first 3 lessons are completely free on the blog, and that's probably where you're watching this right now. Whether or not you've taught this style before, anyone can do it, and I guarantee that your students are going to have an absolute blast by exploring it. You can find out more about grabbing the whole course at timtopham.com/chords, and if you scroll right to the bottom of that page, I'm offering a really special discount if you're not yet a member of my community so that you can grab full access. I've split the course into 10 modules. It's incredibly concentrated. There's a lot of material in there, and there literally is easily enough to fill probably a year's worth of training with a student, particularly if you're just doing 5 or 10 minutes as part of your normal lesson. So don't feel that this is a 10-week program. That would completely overwhelm a student really quickly. Each module in the course comes with a comprehensive step-by-step lesson plan, and as I say, you can get access to these if you haven't already downloaded them from timtopham.com/chords. And what I've tried to do with each of these is not only give you step-by-step instructions, you've got a number of teaching tips and reminders, and then at the end, practice tasks for the students so they can actually go away and work on things. I've got extension activities for students that are a little bit more advanced, technology that you can use, progressions to explore, and songs that use some of the ideas that we've been talking about in this lesson that students will hopefully know. In this first lesson, we're just going to be laying the foundations by getting students understanding major and minor chords, how to play them, how to find them really quickly, and how to physically play them on the piano. I'll give you some tricks for helping students make the relationship between chords that they see on paper and how they're going to play them, so that we'll be ready by lesson 2 to actually play some pretty fun chord progressions. So I reckon we'll get started. So in lesson 1, the first thing to do, I like to actually show students, if they're not really familiar with what piano chord progressions sound like, is just to play something. So I'll just kind of make up something like this. So Will, I mean, you've done plenty of kind of, and you've got scales and all that kind of stuff. But what you might not know is that underlying music is chord progressions. Harmony and chords are really the foundation. So with a few little ideas, you can play pretty cool stuff like that, right? So that's what we're going to be getting you to be able to do, so that you can sit down at the piano and just improvise. Sound pretty good?
Yep.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, so really the first thing a student needs to know, and Will needs to know, is actually how to form a chord. So a triad, Will, is a series of notes. Well, let's start in C, because that's nice and easy to understand. You know your C major scale, right? Can you just play for the first 5 notes of a C major scale, fingers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nice job. So all we're going to do is we're going to take notes 1, we're going to skip a note, take note 3, skip a note, and take note 5, and play those 3 together. Nice. And I don't know if you can see it from here, but Will's using an unusual fingering here, which is really common that students will do this. So what are you using? 1, 2,
and
4. And I've had students do this quite a lot, so that's not unusual at all. What I'd like you to do, can you try 1, 3, and 5? And see how that feels? Beautiful. And so some students will really struggle with 1, 3, and 5. That's totally cool, it doesn't bother me. I'll fix it up later on, but for these first few lessons, I just want to get some action. So if they're using 1, 2, and 3, or they're using 1, 2, and 4, they're the most common ones. Ideally 1, 3, and 5, but some students may have real trouble not playing fingers 2 and 4 in the process, so just look out for that. All right, so what we've got here is a C major chord. Nice and easy. Could you play it with your left hand, fingers 5, 3, and 1? Beautiful. Together. Beautiful. Nice, strong touch. I like that, Will. All right. Now, that's a major chord. And there's a structure to major and minor chords that is the same all over the piano, regardless of what key you're in, right? So what I want you to do is play that C with your thumb in the right hand. And I want you to just, and play the 3rd finger as well, and just hold those 2 down. Beautiful. And I want you to count the number of notes that you've skipped, black and white, between those two fingers. How many is that?
3.
Beautiful. And if you play with the 5th finger at the top, how many notes are you skipping between the middle note and the top note?
2.
Beautiful. So one approach that I use to teach this to students is what I call the big small method. So at the moment, Will is playing a major chord, and I call this a big chord because between the notes C and E, he's skipped, was it 3?
3 notes.
3 notes skipped completely, and between the notes E and G, he skipped 2 notes. Okay, so with that in mind, he's got a big gap first, and then a smaller gap, which means it's a major chord. All right, and this works wherever a student is on the piano, which is why it's really, really helpful. So Will, let's try and put this into action. Let's try and play a D major chord, and we're just going to build it from the bottom. So thumb's going to be on what note?
D.
Beautiful. You're going to skip how many notes, black and white?
3.
3. So I just get students to kind of tap on them. 1, 2, 3, and they're going to play the next note, which will be what note?
F sharp.
F sharp. Beautiful. And then we're skipping how many?
2.
2, and then we're playing the next note with our pinky. Beautiful. Play it all together. Nice job. Great. So this pattern works obviously for any major chord, regardless of where it starts on the piano. So would you like a little challenge?
Sure.
Yeah, let's go. Let's try A major.
A, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2.
Nice job. Beautiful. And another thing that I like students to realise with this method too is that there's similarities between chord shapes, how they feel to play and how they look, white and black notes on the piano. So Will, if you play that D chord again, you'll notice it's kind of like a triangle shape, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've got a black note on the 3rd finger and 2 whites. Did you notice that when you played A, same shape with a C sharp in the middle, right? Yeah. So this is a really useful thing for students to actually learn, to visualize and see that there's commonalities between these chord shapes. There's one other chord that has exactly this shape. And I'll tell you it now. In the future, I'm going to quiz you on it, so you need to remember it. So if you put your thumb on E, and don't worry about counting this time, just play that same shape. What middle finger what note will that be? Beautiful. Top. Great. So you can play that chord. What is that chord?
That is an E major.
Fantastic. So you now know that E major, D major, and A major all have the same shape, right? Just the same as C major and 2 other white note chords. Do you want to have a guess at which ones they are? You might want to play them.
C major.
So C.
F major.
Yep. Hang on. F. What was that?
That's a G.
G. Yep. And F major. Yeah. Great. Fantastic. What if you play? Why isn't D?
That's a minor chord.
How do you know?
Because it's not 3 gaps between the 1st and 2nd, and 2 gaps between the 2nd and 3rd notes.
Right. So what's actually happened to our gaps now that we've gone to a minor chord?
Well, if you play it like that, you only have 2 gaps between the 1st and 2nd, and 3 gaps between the 2nd and 3rd.
Fantastic. So here's a D minor chord. You could also teach students this with a C minor chord, just for proof of the simple changes between major and minor. So now we've got a skip of 2 notes, black and white, and then a skip of 3. So the small interval is now first. So that to me makes it a minor. Okay, small first equals minor. Now, I've seen other teachers teach this in different ways. This is just one approach. You may disagree, you may like another method, totally fine. One of the most common other methods is to actually count all the notes. So starting with the C, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then play the next note. Or you could even count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So counting all the notes, including the ones that you're playing. It's totally up to you how you do it. There still will have the same relationship of big gaps and small gaps, and it could be a good, easy way to learn how to play these different chord types. Will, can you, using this method, play a C minor chord now? Fantastic, great. And now go to the major chord. Great. So what do you notice has changed in these 2 chords?
The middle finger has changed position.
Great. And what distance on the piano has it changed?
It has moved 1 key up.
Yeah. Do you know what word we use in music to describe the distance between any 2 next door notes on the piano?
A second.
Yes. a minor second, or
I'm not sure.
a semitone.
A semitone.
Yeah, I know you've heard that word before, right? So the middle note is changing only a semitone. So it's really easy to find a minor if you know the major, or vice versa, right? Cool. All right. So I'm now going to quiz Will on a few more random chords, and see if you can work these out. So let's go for E flat minor.
So you go 1, and then you got 3 until the first one. 1, 2.
Right. So now, interestingly enough,
that's a major chord, isn't it?
yeah, right.
Because I put 2, it should be 1, 2, 3.
Ooh, cool.
No, it's not right.
Now this is a really funky chord sound. So how many? So all right. So let's go E.
There's the challenge.
E. Now we're skipping. We wanted minor, right? So we skip 2. We play the next note, and then we skip 1, 2, 3, and play the next one. Right.
There you go.
Now that's great. But what chord are you playing?
You'd think an E minor chord.
Right. You are playing an E minor chord, but can you remember what I asked him?
E flat minor.
Correct. So let's do E flat minor now.
Okay. So what's the difference between an E minor and an E flat minor? Is the question.
So it's all to do with the starting note. So your starting note isn't E anymore, it's E flat. Good, same process. Skip how many?
2.
2, play the next note. Skip 1, 2, 3, play the next note. Nice job. Great. So E flat minor chord. Nice work. Now I know Will is fairly musical, and I mean that's a fairly hard one to jump to. I probably would normally with students do some more white note ones first, but that gives you an idea of the kind of place that you can go with this. Will, how about B flat major?
Oh, major. Okay.
Nice work. Great. Cool. And let's do with the left hand. How about E? No, let's do A flat minor with the left hand this time. Nice work. Great. Oh, I played the wrong one. Yeah, nice work. So with this kind of approach, the student can now go home and get used to playing these chord shapes. Now, one thing that you could ask the student to do is see if they can work out all the matching chord shapes. So C, F and G, all on the white notes, all same shape. D major, E major, A major, all the same shape. In the flats, D flat, E flat, A flat, all the same shape. So these kind of approaches can really shortcut a student's ability to quickly find a chord. So this week, you're going to have a few jobs to do, and I'd get him to write this down if we were doing this lesson formally. First thing you're going to do is, I might show you a little app that I've got that's quite fun to use. So this app over here is called, and I'd put this in front of the student, I'm just doing this because of the recording we've got going. This app is called Decide Now, and it's literally just a spinner, and I've put in all the chromatic notes around the scale. So with this in front of the student, I just get him or her to press the button in the middle, and then you've got to play a major chord, G. Beautiful. And you could add, you could write G major and minor, or the teacher could just read it out. So let's try another one. This one's a minor. F sharp, minor.
F sharp minor.
Yep. Nice work. And always getting the student to also think and listen orally to what they're doing too, because it's all very well to memorize patterns and positions or count up semitones, but what we really want students to do is, like we'll notice right at the beginning, notice the difference between major and minor. So one other great little activity to do, and I'm going to quiz you on this next lesson, Will, is give you a little test, oral test on major and just deciphering between major and minor chords. So if you, without looking at what I'm doing, I'm just going to play you a chord. Tell me if it's major or minor. Here we go.
Minor?
Oh.
No, you go major.
Major, yeah. Here's the minor. Have a listen to the difference. Yeah, beautiful. What about this one here?
Major.
Good. And this?
Minor.
Very good. And this one?
Major.
it is major. So that kind of skill, really, really important for students. I'm not worrying about diminished or augmented chords. In fact, I don't really talk about that until right at the end because they're not used all that much in popular music, more so in classical and Baroque repertoire. It's still useful, and it was interesting that Will made a mistake right at the beginning. I think he played maybe an A diminished chord, I can't remember what it was exactly. So that could be a talking point. A lot of the content of this course can really be driven by students, and particularly the mistakes they make, because often the mistakes can be really valuable learning experiences and you can bring things out of them. Okay, so we've gone through the lesson plan. That's pretty much well and truly enough for one student in one lesson. In fact, that could almost be a couple of lessons. You might just want to do the major ones on the white keys. You might want to do major and minor white, or major and black and white. Like, that's up to you. It's going to depend on the student, the amount of time you've got, all that kind of stuff. So use this appropriately for your student. But that big small method I find works really well. Getting students to visualize the patterns and shapes and find commonalities, really, really great as well. Homework tasks, you could use Decide Now. Go around, make sure you just see how quickly you can practice these different shapes. I want you to see if you can come back and tell me next time what chords have the matching shapes.
Yep.
Flat keys, so black note keys and white keys as well. Yep. And we might just do one extension activity with you because you're going pretty well. We're going to move chords to the left hand, and we're just going to play up the white note chords holding for 4 counts each. Like this. Can you try this? 2, 3, 4. Nice job. Etc. So we go up the scale. Yep. Nice and easy. Perhaps put a little beat on as well. And this time with your right hand, you're going to use some notes of the C major, what we call a pentascale. Just 5 notes in C. So any of those notes, and just kind of feel like a little improv. Yeah. Sure. Now this, I wouldn't normally do this, but as I say, Will's showing he is understanding what's going on. So let's give it a little bit of a shot. The main thing here is that the left hand 4 beats each and moves up regardless of what happens to the right hand. Okay, so if you only play 3 notes in the right hand altogether, totally fine. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, and. Oh, that's great. Really, really good. And you're creating music. That's it's a very simple chord progression, but it's fun. It's practical. It's using both sides of the brain. It's keeping a beat. All those kind of things. And did you notice what I was able to do on the second piano while he was playing? Just fill in some string sounds. String sounds, when you're playing chord progressions with students, are a winner because it makes everyone sound like a film score composer. So brilliant. If you've got that ability, then do that. And that app that I was just using then is called Super Metronome Groovebox. Just creates really quick beats really, really easily. You saw how quickly I was able to find it and play with the student. And I've noted all of those things down here, including the progression to explore. So that's it for lesson 1. Remember, you can grab this free lesson plan over at timtopham.com/chords. And again, this is just an introduction to the concept. So we haven't actually started composing really yet, but these lessons 1 and 2 in particular are really important grounding steps for students before they go on and try and make their own music. So don't skip over these with students unless they already have a good idea about chords and chords playing. In the next video, we're going to revise a few of those little things that we've talked about today, and then we're going to get on and play some cool chord progressions that's used commonly in pop music today. And then in module 3, we'll actually start with the 4-chord composing before we go on to melodies and adding sus chords and add 2 chords and styles and patterns and forms and structure. You name it, this course covers it, and I look forward to seeing you in lesson 2.